Hello and welcome to another Wellness Wednesday Q&A here on the Paso Norte Foundation's Facebook page. As always, before we start, we want to encourage you to visit epcovid19.org. It's your COVID-19 information hub for the Paso del Norte region. It was created by the Paso del Norte Health Foundation to help the community, that's you and your loved ones, find valuable resources to help get through the current health crisis. There are links and other resources for patients, students, business, mental health needs, and a lot more there that you can find. A lot of those resources are free. So go ahead and log on to epcovid19.org for all that information. Today we're here with Jana Renner. She's the program officer for the Health Foundation's Healthy Eating Active Living Initiative, the HEAL initiative. And we'll be joined by HEAL grantee Pema Garcia of Texas A&M to discuss More Counts, Más Cuenta, which is a program which was created to provide promotora-led healthy eating classes and family physical activity opportunities to intergenerational families living in colonia communities in Far East El Paso County and in Hudspeth County. So they'll answer your questions about community resources, needs, and how you can help others who are in need during this health crisis that has affected so many people here in El Paso and Hudspeth County as well. We encourage you to leave your questions in the comments here on Facebook, and we'll get to them here on the chat, or if we can't get to them, we'll answer them for you there in the comments. So first of all, I want to thank you and welcome Jana and Pema to the Facebook Live today.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, good to have you. So Jana, before we get started talking about more counts, tell us a little bit about the HEAL initiative and the grant that made more counts possible.
Sure. So our HEAL initiative is a two-pronged approach to improve health here in the region, looking at nutrition and physical activity. The goals around nutrition are to increase fruit and vegetable consumption and improve portion control. We know that the food that we take in has a lot to do with our health and eating healthy can prevent a number of chronic diseases and can boost your immune system, which is important right now too. So those are our goals around healthy eating. And then for physical activity, the goals are to increase physical activity, but also to decrease sedentary behavior, because we know that sitting for a long amount of time, whether it's at work or even sitting at home watching TV, can be really detrimental to your health as well. Even if you do vigorous activity sometime during the day, the effects of that can be done away with if you're sitting for long periods of time during the day.
Right, yeah, we do know that, and especially right now when we're having to be at home, so it can be a little more difficult to get out there and get active.
Definitely. So yeah, it's really important to get up and move, and especially right now that the weather's nice, it's starting to get hot, but still not too hot. So I'd encourage everyone to try to get out and walk around for a little bit each day.
Right. And so tell us a little bit about the grant that made more counts possible.
Sure. We've been partnering with Texas A&M for a number of years on actually a number of initiatives, and I think that we've been partnering with them with HEAL for about 4 years now, and it's just a really great partnership because they serve the vulnerable populations in Far East El Paso and in Hudspeth County, and it's a great way to outreach to people who don't have some of the resources that others of us may have, as far as knowing, having education around nutrition and also physical activity.
Right, a lot of people in these communities don't have access to those kinds of resources. So, Pema, thank you again for being on the Facebook Live with us. Tell us a little bit about what your program, what Más Cuenta provides for these communities in Far East El Paso and Hudspeth County.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. Más Cuenta is a program as designed. We do healthy eating classes. We talk about nutrition basics. We also talk about how to prepare meals, traditional meals that everyone loves around our borderland, and how to make them a little bit healthier, all with the idea of improving our consumption of more fruits and vegetables. And the fresher, the better. So the other component to it is the physical activity component, because we realize that It's so important what you feed your body, but we also know that it's important to exercise our body and keep active. And so we understand that, you can't necessarily give a class or give some education to one member of the family and think that the entire family is going to engage. So we try and incorporate our lessons and our activities to incorporate the entire family. So most of the households that we work with in our communities have 2 to 3 generations in them, sometimes a little bit more. And so we try and incorporate all generations. So the grandma or the grandpa and the little ones. So everybody is involved in not only the educational piece, the meal preparation, perhaps even the shopping, and of course the physical activities.
Mhm. Okay. And so obviously right now, with everything that's happening with COVID-19, everyone's had to adapt a little bit. What is Mas Cuenta doing right now to adapt to the pandemic and related restrictions? How have you continued to be in contact with your participants?
Absolutely. Well, it was such a disappointment that we had to socially distance, because that's the beauty of a lot of our classes, is that we get to engage and we get to listen and learn from one another. So it's not only the facilitator sharing information with families, but it's the families sharing information with each other. And so what we've had to do is change that in-person model to doing video, much like this. We do video instruction. We also utilize applications like WhatsApp to stay in contact with groups. And we're also following up with our the residents and our participants through phone calls. So what we do is we send over the lesson. We give folks time to review it. Obviously, now that everyone is either homeschooling or watching children and has modified their daily schedule, they don't always have 2 hours to dedicate to a class. So we provide the material, allow participants to review the material at their own pace, and then we get back with them the next day to review the material, see if they had any questions. Then we introduce them to the recipe of the week. We introduce them into the physical activity that we would like for them to try. Sometimes it's a yoga class. Sometimes it's a family walk. Sometimes it's something a little bit different, like maybe a Zumba class or bachata that everybody seems to like in our region. Those kinds of activities that you don't necessarily feel like you're exercising, but you're just having fun for a good 20-30 minutes, getting that heartbeat up, and really kind of getting all the oxygen flowing and circulation going in your body. And so when you're doing it, not just individually, but when you're doing it with your kids or you're doing it with your family, you're not thinking about, oh my gosh, everybody is really, burning calories here. No, you're just having fun. And so that's what we do during the week to stay in contact with our participants. In addition to the healthy eating classes, we have 2 other components. And every month we offer 2 what we call family fun days. And what we do is typically we go out to the park, we take equipment, and any of our families are allowed to use their equipment as long as they're utilizing it as a family. So a mom can come and ask for a soccer ball and they can use it, but as long as they're, kicking the ball together and going down the park together. So what we've done to change that is we've provided several of these kinds of equipment to the families, and they are exercising in their own backyard or in their park or in their front yard, wherever they have space. And so we are accepting tons of photographs to prove that people are doing things outdoors. And if they don't feel comfortable, then we ask them come indoors and use stretch bands or use some of the YouTube videos that are instructional. And so that's fun days. And then we also have community walks. So we just had one this Saturday, and we had a community individual walk. An individual meant by individual family. So we had 78 families that participated in our region on Saturday, anytime from 8 to 4. We asked families to go out and walk minimum of 1.5 miles or over 2,000 steps together. And we have many photo submissions and some video clips also of families getting out there. The majority of them with their masks, which we were really happy about. But the great thing is that they were exercising, doing some physical activity as a family. And that's really what the premise of our program is all about.
That's a lot of good, lot of great programs and a lot of good things to get families out there and get them active.
Yeah.
especially for these communities in the colonias where they may be lower income and might not have access to a lot of resources. On that note, what are you hearing from some of your participants revolving around their concerns about access to groceries and nutritious food in general?
Well, I'll tell you a couple of things. One is we're hearing from a lot of moms that they're kind of they're asking for new recipes because they're a little bit tired of preparing the same things over and over again. So that's the good thing is we keep pumping in new information and new ways of using old ingredients so that families don't get bored, and new and interesting ways to prepare meals. But there are some families that are concerned about what they're seeing at the grocery store in terms of the prices on eggs and meat that have not only doubled but sometimes tripled in some areas. And so that's a big concern because, of course, we go to eggs and meat as the main protein. And so we have been working with families to consider alternative protein ingredients such as any kind of legume or maybe some of the grains like quinoa, even some of the vegetables like spinach that have a lot of protein in them.
Right. Okay. And Jana, I know that the HEAL initiative also deals a lot with the food banks around the city. What are you hearing? Any updates from them at this time? I know they've been pretty swamped.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing that they're very busy. They're seeing, many more. There's well, people are driving up in their cars, right, and they're serving many more people through their cars. I do know that as of a couple of weeks ago, they were actually receiving more produce than they were used to receiving, and so that's good news. But I do know that they are um, this our food bank as well as other food banks across the state are struggling to keep up with the demand for all kinds of food, not just produce. And so I think that that people that are receiving food through the food bank may be receiving mixed types of of boxes depending on availability. But
Hmm.
as far as I know, produce is one of the things that they have been able to keep up with the demand.
Okay. And so before we're getting close to our 15-minute time limit here, before we wrap up, can each of you maybe give us one or two hints that people who are watching or people who might not have access to resources, some tips to keep up their physical activity while they're home, and also some tips for preparing healthy, low-cost meals?
Well, I can take part of that, and I'm going to let Pema probably has access to so many more resources. But I would say that the internet is a great resource for all things.
Right.
But I've noticed that there are a lot of organizations, particularly ones that focus on children and schools, and I think some are actually on the EP COVID-19 website.
Hmm.
Um, that provide information for how you can provide physical activities for your kids while they're home as part of their school day. And I would encourage everyone to check that out. I think Action for Healthy Kids and Common Threads and the Catch program all have great resources, and I think that they have some nutrition information as well.
Great. And Pema?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I would direct anyone to our Facebook page, which is Texas A&M University Colonias Program Western Region. It is a really long name, but you can find us there. And the other tip for getting maintaining some physical activity is select 2 to 3 times a day where you get up and you stretch and walk for a good 5 minutes. I'm lucky that my house is pretty long, so I can actually walk within my house, if not outdoors around the house, just to keep yourself up and moving and not letting all the blood just kind of pool in your legs and end the day with some swollen feet. But just keep active every few minutes. You don't have to necessarily set aside an entire hour to exercise, but as long as we keep active throughout the day, that's the best way to stay.
Great. Thank you both for being on here today and sharing these valuable resources with the community. And Pema, thank you for your work with those communities out in the colonias of East El Paso and Hudspeth County as well. It sounds like some really terrific work that you guys are doing for those families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as always, before we wrap it up, just want to encourage you once again to visit epcovid19.org. There's information there in English and Spanish. It's the information hub for the Paso del Norte region as far as COVID-19 goes. It was created by the Health Foundation to help the community find some resources that are out there, such as the More Counts Más Cuenta program. So there's lots of links there that you can go to and find plenty of different resources there for students, parents, business people, etc. Thank you again for joining us here for Wellness Wednesday. We'll be back next Wednesday with another guest and another topic, and we'll see you then. Thank you all.